أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الحمد لله سبحان الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق قالوا سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت عليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي فوض أمري إلى الله بصير بالعباد الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين بالقاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين الذي أذهب الله عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we continue our discussion in Surah Al-Fatiha, and we are going to the ayat of Allah's name Ar Rahman and Ar Rahim. And as always, Allah inspires us to understand this journey in the context of our inner transformation, and also in the sequence of how this surah is progressing. So last time we had discussed that the Quran that we are looking at is a microcosm of the outer world. So where the outer world is a place of things seen in action, the word of God is an encapsulation of what we're seeing outside. And so in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, we have shown you our signs within yourselves and in the horizons. So what comes out of the understanding of life is that there's a constant projection, there's a constant mirroring between my nafs, between who I am, between this book of God, and then what I see outside. So there are three aspects to how I can experience reality, knowledge, and haq, what is the truth. So what we understand through Allah's names is that Allah's names are then not only evident as a manifestation in the outer world, but also within myself and also within the book of God. So the names Ar Rahman and Ar Rahim are the mother of the names, of all the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah being the first name, which has no division or it has that ultimate unity in it of all names. Ar Rahman and Ar Rahim become the next in line as mother names through which all other names come through. And therefore these names have for us two ways of understanding. One is, how do we see them outside, and how can we emulate them within ourselves? And very recently I was speaking to somebody about the names of Allah, and what came up was that all the names of Allah are within ourselves, and all these names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are like dormant, latent, like they're hidden tablets or hidden capsules within us, and then we can activate them. We can activate them by becoming aware of that quality within us and then bringing it into action. So they stay hidden until we bring our awareness to them by doing dhikr, and then we activate them. So Ar Rahman and Ar Rahim are also qualities which are within us. And the purpose of life, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, I was a hidden treasure and I wanted to be known, I wanted to be manifested. The purpose of life then becomes that through our existence, through our life on this earth, we manifest Allah's names. We bring them out. We shine them through us. What I have done today is that I have collected from various books that I have on Asma ul Husna, and I'm going to go through these books with you, and we can have discussions. I will share my own insights about what is written there, and it will give us a deeper understanding of these names. So to begin our talk properly, I want to share with you this hadith of the Holy Prophet, which I came across. And I feel that it touches upon mercy, on clemency. This hadith falls under the topic of the attributes of an intelligent person, Sifat al-Aqil. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, the attribute of a man of intellect is that he is clement towards one who behaves rashly with him, overlooks the fault of one who wrongs him, is humble even towards one who is lower than him in rank. Sorry, I was just checking if it's recording. Tries to get ahead of those above him in his quest for good. Whenever he wishes to speak, he contemplates. If what he wants to say is good, he says it and benefits as a result. And if it is bad, then he keeps quiet and remains safe as a result. When a temptation arises before him, he holds fast to Allah and guards his hand and his tongue. If he sees virtue in it, he seizes it, neither losing his modesty thereat nor displaying any greed. These are 10 qualities by which a man of intellect may be known. So as you can see, the first line of this hadith says the attribute of a man of intellect is that he is clement towards one who behaves rashly with him. What we want to see here is that the act of clemency or mercy is not reciprocal for a man of intellect. It is something which is happening without an impetus. It is happening without a trigger. It is happening without the idea of give and take. It is unconditional. So a lot of our mystics say that the word intelligent or intellect isn't that intelligence which we associate with our brains, but the intelligence that we would associate with an open heart. Now, moving on, I would like to now get into the discussion on the names of God. And the first book that I am using is called The Key to the 99 Secret Gates. And what this always fascinated me into thinking was, these 99 gates of paradise within me. And, it's like, how do I find that key to open secret gates? It reminded me of the movie Secret Garden. So these are like 99 secret gardens with secret gates. And, we can find a key to opening these gardens within us. And therefore, we have always been discussing that the hell and the heaven are within us in the present moment. And for us to have a prosperous life with inner satisfaction and peace, we need to always go within ourselves. Bismillah Ar-Rahman Raheem. So in this book, in Ar Rahman, Ar Rahman is the first name after Allah. In some books, it's the first name after who. And over here it says that Ar Rahman, the one who has absolute compassion for his creation. Nothingness would be the end of the entire human state if merciful God doesn't stand as our eternal fate. There are stories of mystics where, disbelievers would come and challenge, and one of them said to, I think, Imam Ali Raza, and said that if mercy is all there is, then pray that Allah takes away his mercy from me. And that man immediately had died, according to what I remember of that narration. because there is no possibility of living or being alive if there is no Rahmaniya or Rahim, God's mercy. And the truth is that the sauce that we take, which keeps us alive, is His mercy, and without it we cannot live. And Allah calls it Nafs Rahma in the Quran as well. And it is so important that we understand that the breath, the way it has its expansion and contraction within our lungs, is so symbolic of our journey outside. We have talked about the qabs and the bust of life, the contraction and expansion that we experience constantly, moment to moment. Sometimes it's through outer experiences, and sometimes it is through inner states of fear and faith. So there's a movement between fear and faith within our inner beings as well. Ar Rahim, the one who actively intervenes with compassion for his creation. Poor and rich, the mighty or powerless, are given their stations, gifts complete and whole. For the poorest of creation is the king, unless the poor life is richer than no life at all. So over here we understand that there is a mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is devoid of these social distinctions. It is a state of an inner reality. And as we will see in our coming extracts from the books that we're going to be looking at, that Ar Rahman and Ar Rahim have these deeper realities that can really, put us on a beautiful journey towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So now I'm taking the names Ar Rahman and Rahim from the book, The Sufi Book of Life. It's a very beautiful book. What I also want to say before I go ahead is that 99 pathways or 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are also represented in the 99 beads of the rosary or the tasbih that we use. And it's interesting how there are 99 names and then there are 99 beads in the tasbih, something to ponder about. So over here in this book, Ar Rahman is taken as the son of love. Ar Rahman, when you are guided to this pathway of the heart, take the opportunity to consider your ability to give deep, wholehearted compassion. The sun shines on the just and on the unjust, according to a saying of Jesus. The Sufi alchemists cultivated an ability to radiate love wholeheartedly, unconditionally from the deepest part of themselves. Do not confuse this type of love with what people call codependency. It is a natural, glowing, sunny disposition at times. At times we shine because we can't help it, because our light comes from a deeper source. This feeling causes a pregnant woman to glow from within with the warmth of new life. Like the other pathways of the heart, the Sufi would say that this sun of love is already part of one's own inner being. It lies waiting to be discovered. Like I said, that all the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are dormantly hiding within us and they need to be activated. In the Arabic language, this word for love comes from the word for womb. This creative love and energy shines naturally from the deepest place inside us. We don't need to try. Each time we feel it, it's giving birth to a new sense of ourselves. Now, this is where I want to take a little pause and I want to share some insights. What I want to share here is that all this time, whenever I would look at the name Ar Rahman or Ar Rahim, I would always think of an outer giving, of an outer receiving from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and an outer giving of me giving love to other people, right? Because we're looking at it in two ways. We're looking at it as in, okay, how is Allah showing His mercy to me unconditionally? So I sin, I fall, I falter, I have my lacks and everything, and Allah still continues to love me, and that is His unconditional mercy, which I can see through the blessings that He gives me outside, food, water, rain, sunshine, so on and so forth. Okay, so that is Allah's mercy on the outside. And then there is Allah's mercy, and then there is me as a person. And then I can say, well, I emulate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, try, and then I give unconditional mercy on the outside without receiving. I do it for Allah's sake and His love. So these were the two things I always looked at as Ar Rahman. Another thing that I looked at Ar Rahman was the womb of the planet Earth. What is interesting is that because Ar Rahman comes from Raham, the womb. Womb is the place of creation, and Earth is Mother Earth, holding all the wombs of creation, plants, insects, microorganisms, human beings. Everything is born on Earth. Um, so we say Earth is the womb of creation. It is Mother Earth. So the name Ar Rahman is fully manifested through this planet's existence, Earth. And so the dust on Earth, the sand on Earth becomes that soil of growth, of giving birth, of the seed becoming into a seedling. So one can say that metaphorically, growth happens in humility, in bending down, in bowing down. Dust is a symbol of humility. We bow down. And we use the turba when we pray also. It's a sign of humility. Earth also is a place where we, when we say in terms of electricity and energy, we say, let's earth the negative energy, right? Because the earth has that expansive quality of taking into itself the negativity and, letting us discharge the negative energy. So earth and the womb has that quality, and we see that with the right kind of motherly love, children can go and discharge their negative feelings, discharge their burdens and heaviness to their mothers. And so it brings us back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being that mother where we can go and discharge our negativities, our flaws, our distresses, when we go into sajda and pray to Him with humility and accept that, okay, I am needy of my God right now. So those are the things. And then in Surah Rahman, because we're on the name Ar Rahman, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about all of these beautiful blessings that we see on planet Earth constantly. And as I had mentioned earlier, I think once, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, the sigha that is used, the way it is addressed, it says, so which of the blessings of your Lord are you two going to deny? You two, right? And generally it's translated as insan and jinn. And the way I see it is that it is being addressed to me as one person with two entities of my zahir and my batin. Because if you look at insan, the insan on planet Earth is the material, bodily insan. But the jinn is the hidden. Jinn comes from the word, Jannah. Jannah is the hidden reality. So there is a hidden reality within me, and there's a obvious, form to me. So to me, it could also mean, this is just my opinion, that when Allah is saying, which of the blessings of your Lord are you too going to deny? He is addressing not just my physical form and saying, on this planet Earth, I have blessed you with all these blessings and mercies. Are you going to not look at them and feel grateful? But also the inner reality of my existence, where I am receiving blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from my hidden formless heart, which is the receiving device, which is the antenna, which can connect to the radio waves of the divine, right? So so that is where I wanted to give my perspective, but also where I said that, okay, all this time I was thinking about Allah's Rahmaniya and, you know, his Rahma as something which I receive and then something which I give. But what I was missing all this time, and which was actually brought to my attention just last night, is the middle process of first, you know, understanding, okay, I'm receiving and I'm giving, but holding within me, and the transmutation and the transformation that will happen within me. And one of the biggest realizations was the embryo within the mother's womb, its gestation time. That is what was my new realization yesterday, that there is a time of waiting in the womb. So it is not I receive and I give, but then there is a moment, there is a phase in the journey of the soul where there is also this quiet sitting. There is a quiet contemplation and a phase of going within silently and quietly, observing the inner world, the inner happenings, the inner, so to speak, processes of assimilating these gifts that come. So as we will read on, um, we as human beings are such complex entities that a lot of times we don't even know how to receive this love, and the doors are closed. And how do we open these doors? And how is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, will you deny all these blessings? And even if we wanted to deny, we can't deny, right? Because the breath is all there is to my existence. I can't exist without my breath. So I have no reason to be ungrateful, because the flow of gifts is constantly in its flow. And what can happen is my oblivion to it. What can happen is an energetic block to it. And that can prevent me from denying these gifts. And as we all know, that in denying the gifts, Allah doesn't lose out on anything. He's a samad. He is free of need of me acknowledging any of it. In the acknowledgement of his gift is a gift for myself, right? In the acknowledgement of his blessings, there is a gift for myself. And if I am unable to open the door to let this mercy enter my womb of growth, so the womb is now not just significant of the womb of God's womb of mercy, where I am and I am receiving his love, and the womb of love is not just me giving love to someone, but for me to stay within this womb of transformation, which is my growth and my soul's journey and change. And that is truly the Rabbul Alameen that comes before these two names, because this Rabb is the nourishing master who will nourish me within the womb of transformation. And for the nourishment to reach me, I have to be willing to accept this love. So through these stages and alameen of growth from fear to faith, I am in a womb where there is a waiting time of patience, of observation, of contemplation that will give rise to the opening of the inner doors. I was actually speaking to a friend yesterday who is a mandala art teacher, and she is very meditative and a very inward person. And She teaches people how to go inward. And she said that my practice every day is just to sit in silence. I don't watch TV, I don't do this, I don't do that. And her main focus in her life, she said, I like to sit with myself in silence. And, meditation teachers like Tara Brach and Jack Cornfield and, a lot of these other masters, they will give us this mantra to use when we are meditating, when there is restlessness, when we don't want to sit, because sitting means to let the noise settle down and let the distractions give way to the real stuff. And real stuff is tough. And it holds within it pain. And to see pain, we need to be willing to sit, and we need to be willing to make ourselves sit. And so what these meditation masters would say is that when you feel like running away, and when you feel like abandoning this practice of sitting in silence, you just say to yourself, and yet I sit, and yet I sit, and yet I sit. And that becomes a metaphor for the journey of our life in everyday life, when we face difficult situations that are knocking at our door, telling us to open to something painful. We need to say, and yet I sit, and yet I sit, and not find a quick fix to situations, number one. And number two, an indication that I am finding a quick fix, because the voice of the heart can get blurry sometimes, and we don't understand whether what I'm doing is coming from faith or fear. With obviously practice, contemplation, we can understand that, but a lot of times we can't. And so how do I know that I am doing a quick fix, or I'm sitting with it, or is this the right thing to do? Am I trying to control the situation? So one thing is to sit in silence and say, and yet I sit. And the other thing is that I understand that I can't control the situation. It has to flow. If you can pardon me just for a second, I'm just going to be back in a second. So I just realized that you guys got a moment to sit in silence. Um, um, yeah, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is so beautiful in the way He works. And so we understand that the sitting part, and sitting with something that's going on in life, and not to run to fix it, and not to run to end it, and not to control it, is what surrender is, right? Because a lot of times when there is control, then there is ego, then there is me wanting things to end in a certain way, me wanting things to conclude in a certain way, me already deciding from before how a situation needs to end. And the truly interesting thing about human nature is that we are very fearful beings. We are scared of uncertainty. And the Sufi's path is actually to become very comfortable with uncertainty. So when we sit with a situation which doesn't seem to have a conclusion to it, which seems to be confusing, which seems to be not leading anywhere, and we really don't know what to do about it, we realize that handing things over to God will then look like me sitting in silence, not rushing, not doing anything per se to control the outer situation, but going inwards. So now I'm going to read forward, and we're going to see how we can go inwards um, with these names. So in the Arabic language, this word for love comes from the word for womb. This creative love and energy shine naturally from the deepest place inside us. We don't need to try. Each time we feel it, it's giving birth. It's like giving birth to a new sense of ourselves. So Rumi says that, if Mary does not go through the pains of labor, she cannot give birth to Jesus. And because our context of tafsir has always been inner transformation and growth, we have seen constantly that growth is all about giving birth to new selves constantly. When Imam is saying, your 2 days should not be same, he's saying that you are under no obligation to stay the same. Like Alan Watts says, that you're under no obligation to stay the same person even for the next 5 minutes. Keep changing. Keep changing means we're constantly giving birth to our new selves. So we need to remember that this birth will happen through the womb of mercy, right? This new birth, the births actually, new births, cannot happen uh, through fear. In order to feel more deeply and to bring that feeling into our own voices and actions, we may have to give up some ideas of who we think we are. Jesus said, "Seek and ye shall find." But the question here is this: can we dare to allow ourselves to find as well as to seek? The 13th century Sufi poet Mahmud Shabisri compares this process to gambling. The stakes are high for real prayer. You must gamble yourself and be willing to lose. When you have done this and yourself shakes off what you believed yourself to be, then no prayer remains, only a sparkle of the eyes. Knower and known are one. So, like we said, that to hand ourselves over to God then means to let go of ourselves. And there's a hadith, which is associated with the last Imam, the 12th Imam, according to what I read. And the hadith goes like this: that remove yourself from the way, and I will come. And I believe that Mahdiism is enlightenment and awakening, and for awakening to come, we have to give ourselves away. And to give ourselves away is to give our control away. So when we give our control away, we are no longer interfering in the flow of the way universe has decided to do things in our life. And we hand it over to the flow of life. Perhaps right now life is calling you to reach deeper within yourself for the source of compassion, or to remember it as you begin a new project, relationship, or phase of life. Or the message may be to first direct some of this compassion to your inner self. Even if you feel restricted and unable to shine outwardly, acknowledge and love this limited part of yourself unconditionally. So right now, I would like to share with you a meditation which is so profound. And it is you can say it's a meditation or a meditative state, or even a mantra or a state of being that we can practice moment to moment. And what that is in any moment we catch ourselves losing our best selves, getting angry, shouting, screaming, feeling sad, depressed, anxiety. And first of all, of course, when we kind of give ourselves a pause, then we can suddenly start to watch the thoughts that are running through the head. And we will always realize that there will be a voice speaking in our minds. There will be someone, something, some sentence being said over and over again, or a narrative being played in our mind, like a tape playing in our mind, which spurts hormonal secretions in our body that cause a change in our state. So anxiety, depression, discomfort, pain, anger, hopelessness, all these things are not just there as demons that haunt us, but they are being generated literally through chemical reactions in our body because of what tape and inner conversation and inner dialogue that's going on in our minds. So what I want to suggest here, like it said, even if you feel restricted and unable to shine outwardly, acknowledge and love this limited part of yourself unconditionally. And what we do in that moment is we sit and we say to ourselves, this is what it is right now. And to say it exactly, let me just find exactly what to say. I'm gonna find it for you. Just a second. Right now, it's like this. Okay, just to say this to ourselves. Right now, it's like this. So there's this acknowledgement. Right now, it's like this. And then right now, it's like this. I accept it. This is what it is like right now. And on a deeper thought, whatever is in the will of God. Whatever is in the permission of God, what He has allowed to happen and to unfold in that moment. And even me as a person in my all lack and flaw and my, like it says in the book, I'm not able to shine outwardly, in my dullness outside, it is all in the will of Allah's plan. Everything is meticulously planned. Everything that's happening is meticulously planned. It is not outside the domain of God. And for us to say, right now, it's like this, I accept the present moment. I accept whatever it is right now, is saying, God, I surrender to your decree in the present moment. I surrender to, for example, Allah is Muzil, right? He does, he dishonor, he is the, so, I mean, it's difficult to go into the whole detail in the discussion of zillat, like what tu'izzu man tasha, what tuzillu man tasha, right? Like honor and dishonor is in Allah's hand. He's also the muzil and He's also the mu'izz. He gives izzat, but He also gives zillat, right? In that moment of zillat, for example, you messed up a speech, or you behaved badly in public, or you said something that you didn't want to say, or you weren't your best self according to what you wanted yourself to be. You didn't come up to your own standards. In that moment, to say, right now it's like this, and then to say, what is done is done. I hand my flawed, broken, ugly, dirty, whatever I'm feeling right now, I give all of it and all my broken pieces into the hands of God right now. Why? Because I am going to always rely on Allah's Jamal. I'm always going to rely on Allah's beauty and have husni dhan billah. Husni dhan billah is having a good opinion of God, right? So husn is beauty, husn is Jamal. Husn and beauty and Jamal are all connected to Allah's divine feminine. And divine feminine is all about Rahman, all about Raheem, all about the womb. That's why the female body represents this womb. That's why we're calling it divine feminine energy. And that is why divine feminine energy is so connected with our emotions, because a woman is a highly, sensitive species, being, gender, whatever you want to call it, who is much higher on the realm of the heart and the emotion compared to logic, reason, and calculation. And therefore, for me to accept the present moment, I have to go into the womb of mercy, where no matter where I am, how stuck I am, whatever sin I've committed in my own eyes, how much I have fallen, how much darkness there is, no matter what anxieties I hold, whatever inabilities I have, I am in a womb. And the womb is a place where you're constantly being nourished, guided, and growth does not stop. So, in the womb of this life, there is no stopping of the growth unless I really want to stunt it. And in darkness, there is growth because the seed under the soil is in darkness and it is growing. The baby inside the womb is in darkness and it is growing. So, darkness is actually a sign that there is growth happening. And so, I can sit in my darkness. And more than you all, I think, I'm talking to myself, that it's very difficult. It is easier said than done. But to sit in the darkness and say, well, darkness in the metaphor of life, the seed under the soil, the womb, the baby inside the womb, is a time of growth. So I just need to let this growth happen. Let the hand of the Rabb, let the hand of Malik, let the hand of the wise and the merciful take my hand and take me through this dark time, because there is growth here and I'm going to sit here. And right now it's like this. And while right now it's like this, I know that it is in the hands of the one who says, Biyadikal khair. In my hand is all good. So the end result of what is going to come through is going to be only khair. It's only going to be good. So while we mess up, and while we have free will, and while in our present moment we feel that opening for deciding the fork in the road of which side I want to go on and what decision I want to take, number one, pausing helps to connect with the divine to move forward and take a decision. But even if I have not done that, even in the rashness of that moment, even in the impatience of that moment, if I wasn't able to respond, but I reacted and I made a mistake, and immediately if there's a sense of remorse and saying, oh my God, what did I just do? We can just sit and say, right now it's like this. I give it into the hand of the good, biyadikal khair, and immediately bring our focus back to husn zanbillah, goodness of God, and that now saying that life itself, workings of this world itself are within the womb of God, and He will not let it end badly. It is very important to understand that in that moment of anxiety, of thinking, what's going to happen? I messed up. When we say things are going to end nicely, that is an opinion we're going to hold. That is where the free will is. Allah is saying, I am in the opinion of my servant. So the power that we hold is actually that power of positivity that we can hold on to in that moment of gestation, those 9 months that are significant of waiting time of before birth. In that moment, all we can do is hold on to the good opinion of God, having husn zanbillah, having good opinion of God, relying on His Jamal. It is highly recommended by the mystics to rely on the Jamal of God and not the Jalal. And because we're talking about Rahman and Raheem, it's important to keep bringing in that these are the names of His Jamal, and the names of His Jamal and beauty are the mother of all names. So, where were we? Okay, even if you feel restricted and unable to shine outwardly, acknowledge and love this limited part of yourself unconditionally, just as we are held within our mother's womb until the time is right for us to be born. We can think of our own limitations as a new self waiting to be born. And roots and branches, so I already explained all of this, right? Traditional translations of this quality include the compassionate and the merciful. Rahman and the name that follows, Raheem, are both derived from the Old Middle Eastern Semitic root Raham, which points to a ring forth, Ra, from a deep density, interiority, As the Hebrew word Raham, it expresses the function of womb. Consider Rahman, the so-called positive, active, or solar side of this creative love. The Quran uses the phrase Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim at the beginning of all but one surah to indicate that the reality we're talking about is both the sun and the moon of deep love. So Neil, the writer of this book, calls Rahman the sun, the unconditional glow that falls upon us, and he goes on to call Raheem the moon of love. Would anyone like to ask any questions? Is there any confusion, anything that anyone would like to add and enrich the conversation? I would really appreciate it. I can see we have a few participants today, so in case anyone wants to add, I would love it. Otherwise, I will just go on and start a discussion on Raheem. And I do see that this discussion is going to go on for a few days because few classes, because I'm still on the first page of the first book and I've collected so much from other books, and inshallah this will be a very beautiful journey into these names. Okay, so the moon of love, Ar Rahim. When you are guided to this pathway, take the opportunity to consider your capacity to receive deep love and compassion on all levels of your being. Now, if you look at it, where I have underlined capacity to receive. Now look at this. Over here in Rahman, it is saying ability to give deep, wholehearted compassion. And now we're talking about receive deep love and compassion on all levels of your being. So as I was speaking earlier, the ability to open the doors to receiving. So I'm going to start reading. It's easy to look at how much love we're giving. Many self-help books venture to tell us how much is too much. It's less often that we look at our own capacity to receive love. No matter how much is coming our way, if our cup is too small, it will overflow before the deepest part of our being feels anything. Reminds me of Dr. Wayne Dyer, who constantly talked about, our inner cups. And he would say that we're standing in a river of unlimited abundance, and it's flowing with unlimited abundance. And the reason we feel deprived is because our cups are so tiny. He would say, how would it be to stand in a river with a thimble the size of your thumb and then complain that I don't have abundance? It's because we ourselves have to work on our cups. So I think this is exactly what is being said over here. The Sufis have practices for developing a spacious container inside for the thoughts, feelings, and sensations. What we can truly hold, we can also release. As the 14th century Sufi Hafiz says, the sun is the wine, the moon is the cup. Pour the sun into the moon if you want to be filled. Drinking such wine could be good or bad. Why not drink anyway? When the sun is poured into the moon, deep joy happens. No one outside of ourselves can give us this joy. Now, it's really important to see this. No one outside of ourselves can give us this joy. And earlier on, I have mentioned the difference between pleasure and joy. Pleasure is something temporary that we derive from things outside of us. But true joy has its roots within us and is always present within us. It's a reservoir that we can access at any time, which is always within us. They can only remind us that we are already the wine, the cup, and the ecstasy. So always, the journey is to find completion and wholeness from within. Anytime we feel this desire to control an outer situation that will make us feel better, in my own personal experience, I realized that despite all of this inner work, meditation, inner introspection, when reality hits, when we're in the midst of the storm, in the eye of the storm, so many times these intellectual and logical ideas become just mere theories. And then we can look for indicators in our situation that can wake us up and say, wait a second, you just lost track, you just digressed. Why am I saying that? Is because we then have people, situations in our life, messages that Allah sends to us that reminds us that the completeness has to come from within. So in a given situation, if I become very focused or fixated on changing something on the outside so that I can feel at peace, so that I can feel comfortable, so that I can let go of my anxiety and fear, is a huge indicator of saying that you've lost the plot. Let's come back. Let's go back within. Let's go back and see, why am I feeling the need to control the outside? And because we're so connected to the outer world, because we are constantly getting distracted by the tangible denseness of the outer material reality, we lose our way and we start to get, you know, we start to get distracted by how I can change my outside reality so that it can make me feel better, and then everything will be back to normal and everything will be fine. Not realizing that the discomfort that is being brought to us through an outer reality is actually activating an issue that needs to be addressed within ourselves, because right now there is something within me which is saying, I'm not enough. I am not complete. And I need something outside to make me feel better. And a lot of times myself, after all of this talk and everything that I read and share, sometimes I say, there's a voice in my head which says, how much am I going to work on the inside? No, come on. Like, there's a time for outside as well, and this time enough is enough. I just want to change the outside and that's it. Everybody else is doing it. Nobody else is really doing this inner work and all that very thing. No, come on. Some things need to change on the outside for me. And believe me, I will just be hitting my head on a stone wall and nothing budges, nothing changes. Because I guess Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He puts us on this journey, then He's really kind to not let us digress. It becomes His mercy. Just like you're in the hospital, you've admitted yourself, you're saying, I'm ready for this treatment, come on, bring it on. And the minute they start poking us with these needles, we're like, enough, can I just get a breather? I just don't want to do this, it's too painful. And we want to run away from there, and then the process has already started, the catharsis has already started, and the surgery has already started, and you can't run away from the middle of it. And so Allah pins us down and says, buddy, we've got this, let's do this. So that's what it is, to say, sit, right now it's like this, accept it. And again and again, the painful things that will come our way will be a reminder, go within. And it constantly reminds me of something very, very beautiful, this Chinese proverb, which says, if you blame others, you haven't started the journey. If you blame yourself, you're halfway. If you blame no one, then you have arrived. And I think that the critical point of not only just starting our journey, but also in the midst of the journey, to keep moving forward. Blame is one thing that becomes a huge indicator of, number one, stagnation, but number two, letting go of blame immediately puts us back on track. Because when we stop blaming something outside of us for the negativity that we're feeling in our life, pain we're feeling in our life, then immediately we enter an awakened state. So blame becomes this huge indicator of helping us, have a self-accountability of saying, okay, wait a minute, where am I? So I'm just gonna go to this story and then probably end. It's a story about Mullah Nasiruddin, who has a student coming over, and the student knows that Mullah Nasiruddin will have some funny thing, a ridiculous thing that he will do, and it will annoy him. So he decides before going to Mullah's house that he's going to keep quiet and watch what Mullah does. But what Mullah says to him is that, come with me, I will take you to the well, and I need to fill up some water in my bucket. And Mullah keeps filling the bucket, keeps filling. And for a while, the student is okay and quiet, but he realizes that there's a huge hole in the bucket at the bottom. And Mullah is constantly filling the bucket, until the student just gets really exasperated. And he says, Mullah, you idiot, can't you see that the bucket is leaking? And Mullah says, my friend, I was only looking at the top of the bucket. What does the bottom have to do with it? And so Mullah was actually metaphorically giving this example of our own journeys, that we keep trying to fix the outside, the surface. We keep trying to work on the outside, what we can see on the outside, like we were just saying, right? We keep blaming the outside, and we keep trying to control the outside. We keep trying to change the outside. But if there is a leakage within, if there is a lack within, if the bucket is leaking within, no matter what kind of self-care I will try to indulge myself in, my inner bucket is leaking, and it's not going to hold the joy. And what I mean by that is that if the inner work is not right, if I'm not going inwards, fixing things on the outside is not going to work. And this is this story of the bucket is so profound, because that is the story of our lives. And the story of our lives is that what we have seen around us, that we start out with our life with a set plan and saying, I'm going to study, I'm going to get a job, I'm going to have a family and have kids, and put them in a good school, and da 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 da. So it's all about fixing it on the outside and keep filling the bucket on the outside, because there's an inner yearning for perfection. There's an inner yearning for feeling satisfied. And so many of us will not be able to find that satisfaction, that rest, that peace, despite whatever we do on the outside. That inner emptiness doesn't leave us. And so we realize that for that inner emptiness to be filled, and for that inner emptiness to finally find its peace, we need to be able to go within, find that hole, and patch that hole, right? And for us, we know that the true solace and peace lies in connecting with our source, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is complete and perfect, and only through him we can find our completion and perfection. So with that, I would like to end the session today, and I will make dua before I close the recording. Bismillah Ar Rahman Raheem. Oh Allah, we come to you as broken servants with all of our leakages and all of our brokenness and all of our inabilities, and the biggest inability to not be able to see that I'm broken, to not be able to see where my leakage is, to not be able to see where my hole is, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, with your vision and with your love, enable me to see with your eyes, with love and in the womb of mercy, that I can find that and fill it with your love, and fill my emptiness with your completeness, and fill my lackness with your wholeness, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, I find it impossible to go ahead sometimes, and I feel stuck, and I don't have a way out, and despair takes me over. But only with your light, with only your hope and love, can I move forward. Ya Allah, this is my state. This is my lowly state. This is my lowly state of inability. Ya Allah, I know I am unable, and you are able. You have qudrat over everything, and I have nothing. I am the Fakir and you are the master, Ya Allah. I hand my affairs over to you. I give you my matters, Ya Allah. You are my Wakil, Ya Allah. You are the one who is sufficient. O Allah, suffice my heart with your love. O Allah, give me that peace and tranquility that I so yearn. Ya Allah, make us worthy of that unity that your special friends are gifted with, Ya Allah, with your proximity, who are shown your beautiful manifestations in every moment with Kula Yawmin Huwa Fi Shan. O Allah, I ask you with the sadaqah of your Habib and his beautiful family to bless us, Ya Allah, with that true drink of Kausar, of abundance which suffices the heart on the inner side. O Allah, open our inner eyes so we can see, truly have the vision of the truth. O Allah, we ask you, help us and guide us on this tricky path, this path of obstacles, this path which looks so difficult sometimes. Help us not to give up, Ya Allah. Do not make us one of those who lose hope and lose our way, Ya Allah. We are scared, weak, little tiny beings, Ya Allah, and you are mighty, loving, and you're the one whose mercy embraces all. Oh Allah, heal this world and send your blessings to those who are suffering financially, spiritually, and physically, Ya Allah. Oh Allah, give children to those who yearn to have an offspring, Ya Allah. Give health to those who are suffering from diseases, Ya Allah. Give hope and life to those who are stuck in difficult situations, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you because we have no one to ask. There is no one to go to. There is no door worthy of knocking, Ya Allah. So we come to you. Don't leave us empty-handed. Oh Allah, oh Allah, we are only your servants. Hasten the reappearance of your last Savior and enable us to be part of his helpers, his helpers, Ya Allah. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alamin.